A lot of people wanting to start learning Mii Brawler will often come to me and ask, what combos does Brawler have? How do I get kills? And how much of a masochist do I have to be to play this character? While these are great questions you definitely need to find an answer for, I feel like there's one crucial question missing. How do I play Mii Brawler? Wait, no, that's a little too broad. How do I win neutral? That's a bit more like it. How do I actually get hits on my opponent? The answers to those questions are all part of what I call having a game plan. Game plan, strategy, you can call it what you want, but every character has multiple playstyles which are all effective in a different way. So in this video, I want to explain the, in my opinion, 3 most common and effective game plans for Mii Brawler. Let's go. To make a fair comparison between the different styles, I will rank all of them based on 3 criteria: consistency, efficiency, and difficulty. Consistency means how often this strategy will work against a variety of characters on at least a high skill level. Camping by only throwing shot puts might work against some slow characters like Ganon, but not against Sheik. Spamming SAK whenever the opponent gets near you might work against bad opponents, but not in the slightest against anyone higher than mid-level. Efficiency, on the other hand, focuses on how effectively you can win games quickly, if you manage to pull off the strategy. Going back to the shot put example, even if you do manage to stop your opponent from approaching and you get a stray hit then and there, it will take a long time until you actually win the match, and it gives your opponent a just as long time to adapt. Lastly, I will also rank each game plan by difficulty. This includes technical demands, reaction time, spacing, character knowledge, awareness, etc. The more skill one strategy requires, the better you have to generally be at the game. With everything explained, let me start off with strategy 1. Bait and punish is a strategy that pressures the opponent into doing something unsafe, and then punishing their move accordingly. In Brawler's case, this means short hopping and full hopping just outside the opponent's burst range, pretending to go for a neutral air or back air approach, or dash dancing in front of them to fake an incoming dash grab or dash attack. Because of Brawler's great fall speed, empty hops and double jumps just above their shield can put on immense pressure. Then, once you've forced a reaction out of your opponent, you can go in for a punish with a quick dash attack, suplex, or of course, depending on how much time you have, a dash grab or an up smash. In terms of consistency, I rate this game plan a 4 out of 5. Because of Brawler's amazing fall speed and decent ground speed, as well as deadly kill confirms in the corner, forcing reactions is usually not too difficult. It isn't an unfailable strategy though, as faster characters like Fox, Sheik or Mythra will simply outrun you with quick and safe hitboxes, and characters who don't mind sitting in the corner like Samus or Olimar won't really give you the opportunity to whiff punish anything. For efficiency, I give bait and punish a 2 out of 5. Unfortunately, most of Brawler's whiff punish options like dash attack and suplex don't offer the greatest reward apart from occasional dash grabs and up tilts. In any case, once your opponent figures out what you're trying to do and doesn't just blindly rush into you with a laggy move, this strategy becomes a lot more difficult to execute. Especially since shot put doesn't really force the opponent to commit from a long distance. Overall, I would give a difficulty score of 2 out of 5. You do require some character knowledge, including the opponent's burst range and their move's lag, but apart from that, reacting and punishing accordingly is relatively easy. Applying pressure with good movement is the most difficult part, but once you get it down to muscle memory, you don't need any more spectacular skills. Rushdown. Rushing down the opponent means applying constant shield pressure, keeping the opponent in disadvantage and forcing close range interactions at any given moment. Brawler excels at this with its great frame data, using neutral airs, spaced back airs, dash grab tomahawk grabs, and raw anti-air up airs and up tilts. You can even chase after opponents trying to get some space with burning dropkick, feint jump, and even jump read thruppers and helikicks if you want to go all out. Edge guarding is also part of it, with ledge slip neutral airs and deep back airs. How consistent is this strategy? Well, I would personally give it a 2.5 out of 5. Characters who struggle in neutral and disadvantage can get absolutely blown away by this, because Brawler can show us amazing mashing game and advantage state. Against other characters though, especially sword characters can prevent Brawler from even coming close enough to start applying pressure, by walling you out if you try to mindlessly rush into them. Characters with great disadvantage state or escape options like Pikachu or Bayonetta can also avoid dying after just a few neutral losses. And characters with strong reversals like Ryu or Ken will punish you hard for overcommitting. For efficiency, Rushdown gets a straight 5 out of 5 though. Assuming you do manage to keep your opponent in disadvantage, this playstyle will finish the games the quickest by far, not giving the opponent any time to adapt. There's no faster way to win matches, but it does have some prerequisites. Which is why we also have the difficulty chart. 4.5 out of 5. Successfully pulling off a Rushdown only game plan against a skilled opponent means constantly thinking one step ahead. Every move has to be spaced perfectly or you get reversaled. You need the reaction time to cover roll-ins with suplex, and you need to get the most out of your punishes before the opponent catches up to your speed. Because once the opponent has adapted to your approaches, this strategy falls off fast due to Brawler's relatively one-dimensional approach options. Platform camping. This is the absolute opposite of what we just talked about. Mii Brawler's platform camping can manifest in two ways. The first version is the true version, with the intention being an actual timeout. This can be done by jumping between triplets and especially on Kalos and Northern Cave by double jump feint jumping between the two platforms. You can mix up the direction you want to go, include fast fall air dodges and even retreats to ledge just to ledge jump, double jump, feint jump again. The second version is the Thrupper version. Here you don't actually want to time out your opponent, but rather fish for some specific setups to get early kills. These setups include low hit up tilts, parry down tilts and grabs, and down air through platforms. All of these can combo into a grab, an up air, more up tilts, and in any case, hopefully death. The platform camping game plan gets a 1.5 out of 5 in consistency from me. There are several issues with this. First, you have to be in the lead to force approaches. Especially if the opponent knows what you're up to, there's no reason for them to come to you. Shot put also doesn't really force approaches, as it can easily be avoided or even punished if done without real purpose. Secondly, any character with a disjointed up air will make this, well, challenging. Even if you might get lucky and parry the ridley up air and get an up tilt, good luck doing that against Link. If you're in the lead though, playing against an Incineroar or Kirby, then there's no reason not to camp them out. Efficiency, 3 out of 5. This assumes that you actually force your opponent to come to you, and that you have at least a theoretical way to punish them for attempted platform pressure. In that case, Thrupper has the potential for insanely early kills, or even Helikick depending on stage. If your goal is total timeout, then you of course will be playing very passively, and the game will take a long time, but you will eventually win without too much risk. Of course, again, if the matchup is right. Don't do this against a Palutena. And finally, platform camping gets a difficulty ranking of anything between 1 and 5 out of 5. You want to circle camp a Ganondorf on Kalos? Brain dead easy. Parry up till Thrupper a Jigglypuff? Still fairly simple. Platform camp a Shulk? Next to impossible. The difficulty in this case is completely matchup dependent, but in general it doesn't require a lot of deep understanding or adaptation. So, which of these game plans is the best? The objectively single most effective game plan is most definitely to subscribe to my channel so you can watch more videos on how to improve. The answer is, for a lot of you, probably as obvious as disappointing. It's all of them. And probably more. Smash is a game of adaptation, and while I do think Brawler is generally better suited for rushdown than for ledge planking, just like a Min will on average have more success zoning you out than rushing you down, the real skill lies in combining all of them to keep your opponent guessing. For example, you could start a match by running at your opponent, forcing them to come up with a counter strategy. If that strategy is to swing at you before you get there, then what should you do? Well, you could, for example, run towards them and wait, just outside their swing range. In other words, you conditioned your opponent into swinging at your approaches just to switch to a Baited Punish playstyle. Mixing up all of these strategies is why top players are so good at controlling the pace of the game. Having a preference for one playstyle is a natural thing, but not becoming predictable is as always the most important part. Thanks for watching, and until the next video.